You're watching Around the World, our top global stories. Straight up, it's the best piece of news for the United Kingdom since its Brexit fiasco. It's a deal that's being labelled as the Windsor Framework, in which the UK and the European Union look set to end their long-running dispute over trade negotiations post-Brexit. This is the deal that does what many said could not be done, removing thousands of pages of European Union laws and making permanent and binding changes to the protocol treaty, Brexit itself. The joint announcement by UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and the head of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, left hardline Brexiteers, however, feeling isolated. Sunak, calling it a decisive breakthrough, claimed that the changes would allow the UK to take back control.
Today's agreement is written in the language of laws and treaties. But really, it's about much more than that. It's about stability in Northern Ireland. It's about real people and real businesses. It's about showing that our union, that has lasted for centuries, can and will endure.
The new Windsor Framework is here to benefit people in Northern Ireland and support all communities celebrating peace on the island of Ireland. And this is why I believe we can now open a new chapter in our partnership. A stronger EU-UK relationship, standing as close partners, shoulder to shoulder, now and in the future.
Now, this deal has three important objectives. First, allowing trade to flow freely within the UK internal market. Second, protecting Northern Ireland's place in the Union. And third, safeguarding sovereignty and closing democratic deficit. More so, the agreement creates a new green lane for traders, scrapping all trade restrictions between Britain and Northern Ireland. There will be new freedoms for medicines, chilled meats and pets to move over the Irish Sea. Not just that, it's also rewriting parts of the existing protocol to allow Westminster to set VAT or value-added tax rates in Northern Ireland. The new framework or deal is expected to give the UK government an emergency brake, so to speak, on new European Union laws applied in Northern Ireland. Even von der Leyen stressed that the European Court of Justice would have the final say on issues related to a single market. But even as Prime Minister Sunak addressed the House of Commons, Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition Labour Party, also said that his party would, quote-unquote, not seek to play political games and support the deal. Meanwhile, in a bid to resolve their thorny post-Brexit trade dispute, Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar also came out in support of the agreement. He said that the deal would provide solutions that were agreed, workable and durable, and would bring stability once implemented.
This new framework also helps to restore and strengthen relations between Ireland and Great Britain. When we were both members of the European Union, we met each other frequently and had more opportunities to work closely together. I look forward to discussing with Prime Minister Sunak how we can take relations between us post-Brexit to a new and more positive level.
However, UK's Prime Minister Sunak still faces discord from the hardline Brexiteer wing of his own party amidst concerns over the continued role of European Union laws in Northern Ireland. And before the announcement in Windsor, von der Leyen's arrival was overshadowed by an extraordinary row. A row over the role of King Charles in the final deal. Pictures were released to the media as they had tea in Windsor Castle after the deal was sealed. Both Buckingham Palace and 10 Downing Street sought to place the responsibility on each other, but the meeting angered Tory Brexiteers and some senior figures in the DUP as well, all claiming that it risks dragging the king into a divisive political issue. Shifting focus away from the UK, North Korea is busy firing ballistic missiles, but it is in the midst of a food crisis. And Kim Jong Un has now called a major political conference to focus on agricultural improvements in the Hermit Kingdom. It's for the first time in North Korea's history that plenary sessions are being convened only to discuss agricultural reforms. North Korea's leader Kim Jong Un attended the second day of this conference that has been seemingly organized on an emergency basis. During the conference, North Korea's ruling Workers' Party has officially stated that it wants to accomplish a quote-unquote rural revolution. Recent unconfirmed reports say that many people in North Korea have died of hunger. But seasoned North Korean observers say that there are still no indications of mass deaths as yet. Back in the 1990s, under the leadership of Kim Jong-il, father of Kim Jong-un, the country had suffered through a long period of famine. Hundreds of thousands of people died. North Koreans call it the March of Suffering. Now, some experts say the country's food security situation has gone from bad to worse after Kim Jong-un came to power in 2011. And that the COVID pandemic has led to the current food crisis because the country closed up during the pandemic like no other country, shutting its international borders completely. It imposed border controls even with its main allies, Russia and China. However, 90% of North Korea's trade goes through China's borders, and North Korea's borders continue to remain closed even now. Russia's war with Ukraine has worsened the situation as North Korea is heavily dependent on Russia for food, fertilizers, and energy. After decades of mismanagement, now Kim Jong Un and his top officials are scrambling to save the country. Up next, we take you back to London, this time for the highlights of a vintage car show with a difference. That's because these vintage cars have now been converted into electric vehicles, and they were put on display at the London Classic Car Show. Now let's begin with the Austin Healey, an iconic British sports car of the 1950s and 60s, and that too in mint condition. But as the key turns in the ignition, there's no sound of the engine roaring, just silence as it pulls away and on to the streets of central London. Its engine can't even be heard above the city traffic. That's because it's running on an electric motor. The 2.6-litre inline-6 petrol engine with 102 horsepower and a 0 to 60 miles per hour speed of 10.9 seconds has been taken out, and taking its place is a Nissan electric motor producing 130 horsepower and a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of just 6.5 seconds. And not just that, the classic car has been refurbished with modern comforts like heated seats, a hidden Bluetooth stereo system, and rear disc brakes. An electric converted Austin Healey costs anywhere between £125,000 to £150,000, depending on the condition of the car before restoration. And it's not just the Austin Healey. Every iconic British-made car has been given the EV makeover. It's a growing, if not slightly controversial trend in the classic car community. There's also the electric Land Rover that has been put on display, and the Jaguar E-Type, one of the most sought-after classic British sports cars in the world. The E-Type regularly tops automotive polls as the best-looking sports car, and there are even rumors that Enzo Ferrari described it as the most beautiful car ever made. Its powerful 4.2-litre petrol engine has been done away with, however, and an electric alternative has been put in place. The average cost of conversion is around £100,000 on top of already owning an E-Type, so it's not a decision to be taken lightly. And of course, the original engine can be stored safely and refitted at any point in the future. Now, one of the most eye-catching classics at the show was the Bond Bug 700 ES from the year 1970. Its most memorable appearance came in Star Wars when a Bond Bug was used to create Luke Skywalker's land speeder. The Bond Bug was a radical city car in its day, aimed at style-conscious younger drivers. The old 750cc petrol engine made just about 30 horsepower and had a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 17.4 seconds. The new 40 kilowatt electric motor makes 50 horsepower and has a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of only 11 seconds. Today, with its silent, emission-free electric engine, its ability to use bus lanes qualifying as a three-wheeler, and tiny chassis allowing it to pull up in all but the tiniest parking spots, perhaps it's finally the ultimate city car it had promised to be back in the day. And not just classic British cars, a conversion of a classic Porsche 911, one of the most important German sports cars ever made since its launch 60 years ago, back in 1964, and still going strong today. So on its 60th anniversary, it's being given the EV makeover that's creating all the right buzz. And finally, it was pretty much a Friends reunion on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Co-actors Jennifer Aniston and Lisa Kudrow joined Courtney Cox, who played the iconic character of Monica, during the unveiling of her star on the famous Hollywood Boulevard. Courtney Cox was born on the 15th of June 1964 in Birmingham, Alabama in the US. She dropped out of college in Washington, D.C. to pursue a modeling career and appeared in the video for Bruce Springsteen's song Dancing in the Dark. She made her film debut in the 1987 thriller Down Twisted. Now, it was this emotional event, and other co-stars and friends like Laura Dern and Sacha Baron Cohen also graced the occasion. Apart from her friends, co-stars Jennifer Aniston and Lisa Kudrow said that Cox's love has had a lasting effect on them. But Courtney Cox tells us how she was very close to dropping the entire acting gig and becoming a sales executive.
And my dad loves television, movies, and all entertainment. And early on in my career, there was a point where I had no money left at all. I was down to 2 weeks to live, to actually live, to support myself. And I called my dad up, and he's like, "Cece, you need to come home. It is a long fall from Hollywood to Alabama. And you know what? You're a salesman. You're a damn good salesman. So you need to come home and do what you do best. Sell swimming pools." Then the next day, I got the Pardon Family Ties. So this will make me cry because I do love my dad. I just want to say I know he's really proud of me, and it does look like I'm here to stay.
And needless to say, that episode of Friends will be called the one where Monica walks on fame. And that's all we have time for on this edition of Around the World. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it with News 9+.